Well, hello. Welcome to Integrative Preparedness. I'm Steve Smith, and how are you all today? I want to talk about chaos today. Chaos is coming. It's important to understand that, recognize it, and prepare for it. Before we get started, today is Chuck Norris's 83rd birthday for all of you Chuck Norris fans. Yeah, 83 years old, and they tell me he still hits hard. I'm going to put up a picture of him over on on the Patreon channel that was taken by his wife Gina. I think it was just taken today. So for all you guys that want to see how good you can look at 83, that picture will be up over there. All you stone modders, the next thing I want to say, this book, my latest book, Hostages to Fortune, it continues to explode. I think this is the best entry of any of my books since the very first one. It is just taken off. Many of you have already bought it. If you haven't, you're gonna want it. It's selling all over the place. It's selling in the United States and Canada and Australia and Europe and everywhere, and people are just loving it. It is the latest in the installment of our always sponsor, regardless of what YouTube puts up here, and that is the Stone Mott series, my books, my complete collection of books on how to prepare for, survive, and rebuild after a total collapse of everything. These are available from Amazon, or they are again available autographed from me, and the information on how to get those is down below in the information section or the description box or whatever it is. And I always try to remember to put in a pinned comment. Now, this latest one is the first one to be offered not only in Kindle, because they're all offered in Kindle and in what's referred to as trade paperback, the larger trade paperback size. But this is the first one to also, in addition to Kindle and paperback, to be offered in hardback. Now that's something, isn't it? Yes, it is. It's more expensive, naturally, but for those of you who like to, to have the books to really save, they are really, whether you consider them collector's items, whether you consider them just you want something to have. I have so many of my readers, and I thank you all so much. It is more gratifying than I can tell you how many people have bought the Kindle so that they can read it right away, and then also buy a complete set of the paperbacks, and then buy more sets of paperbacks to give as gifts or for friends. I just got a message from somebody that says, well, we're going to buy the paperbacks. We buy one set, and those are what we're going to keep, and then we buy another set to loan out. And well, that just amazes me. I never expected this when I wrote that first one, the reversion. So anyway, this one is the first one to be offered in hardback. I'm going to go back when I have a chance. As you know, I've got 9 million things going on all the time. I'm going to go back when I have the chance and set all the others up, because you have to reset them in a slightly different size, and so that all of them will be available at some point in hardback. And that's very exciting. That is so cool. So if you can get them immediately from Amazon, and if any of you have not read, for those of you who have not read the Stone Mott series, they have to be read in order because it's one big story. Okay, so start with the reversion, and then go with the revival. The next after that is the renewal. The next after that is an appeal to heaven. The next after that is the blessings of freedom, and the next after that is hostages to fortune. So there you have it. Okay, get them while they're hot. And thank you all so much for all of you who have already become Stone Modders. Chaos. One thing after another. Keeping it rolling with the old Chuck Norris theme. Chuck is famous for saying, and I think he said it in one of his movies, I'm not sure. Maybe it was Walker. What was that Texas Ranger? Walker, Texas Ranger, yeah. And he's famous for saying, I'm going to hit you with so many rights, you're going to be begging for a left. Well, we've been getting hit by plenty of rights, haven't we? We should probably say we've been getting hit by plenty of lefts. But we're not begging for a right. What we need to concentrate on is all these lefts that keep coming our way. You know, whether it's the situation in Ukraine, whether it's the situation on our southern borders, whether it's the situation with inflation, whether it's a situation with, hey, how about all those trains that somehow can't stay on the tracks? You know, I thought the trains were supposed to stay on those tracks. I mean, isn't that the purpose of the tracks? You know, but apparently, lately, the trains are having a hard time staying on them. I wonder why that is. I wonder why crime is exploding across the country. I wonder why the drug problem is exploding across the country. I wonder why we're getting involved in that mess over in Ukraine, and they are driving us at ever-increasing speeds to a third world war. Just yesterday, the Silicon Valley Bank collapsed. Okay, 16th largest. I wasn't aware of this, but I read it in one of the money sites. I wasn't aware. It's the 16th largest bank in the United States. I don't have any accounts there, so it didn't. You know, you could say that it didn't affect me, but it does. When something like that happens, it affects everybody. There is a ripple effect all across the board. It looks like Jerome Powell, if you're not familiar with who he is, he's the head of the Fed, and he has made noises that he expects to raise interest rates more than expected. That has sent all sorts of not just ripples but waves throughout the financial markets, and if you don't think that affects you, you're wrong. It does. For those of you, by the way, I want to say this, my new channel to where I address money issues, Prepping for Prosperity, is booming. It is growing like the dickens. Thank you for all of you who are coming over there, and you're giving me great questions. We've covered a lot of stuff. The reason that I had to put that channel is because when I started talking about money issues here on this channel, sadly, there were too many people didn't want to hear it, argued about basic things that they didn't know, obviously, from their arguments, didn't know much about. And that's sad, because if you are not preparing financially to improve your financial position, you're not really preparing. And I'm sorry if that hurt somebody's feelings, though. No, I'm not sorry, because you have to understand that. You have to accept that. You know, preparedness is about, and it's very popular for everybody, you know, to talk tactically, constantly improve your position. That doesn't just mean your hidey hole in the woods. It means everything. And if you're not improving your financial position, you're falling behind, and you are not going to be prepared. I don't care how many beans and rice you have. You are not going to be prepared for what's coming down the pike. Okay, so if you really are serious about being, and I have my doubts, I don't think a lot of people out there are serious. They're just playing at it. If you're really serious about being prepared, you have to get your financial house in order. I know a lot of people don't want to hear it because their financial house is in shambles. Okay, I talk about how to deal with that over on the Prepping for Prosperity channel. If you are in a spot, if you are in a bad financial spot, come on over there, listen to it. I'm going to be able to give you some hints and some advice on how to help that, okay? There's no reason for you to be hiding from your finances for the rest of your life, hoping that the world crashes and we have an EMP and crashes to release you from your financial problems. I'm not talking to you specifically. I'm talking to the guy behind you, okay? So anyway, that's the situation. You have to be prepared in all areas, including financially, and you have to be constantly improving your position. Now, the chaos that's coming down the road, it's been coming for a while. It didn't start yesterday. It didn't start last month. It didn't even start last year. It has been coming for a while, and many of you have been preparing for quite a while. You knew it. You knew that there was something coming, even if you couldn't quite put your finger on it, right? And it's hard to put your finger on because, like Chuck says, we're getting hit with so many lefts, right? One day it's the latest thing over here, and then the latest thing over here, and then this over here, and that over there, and everything that you hear is the most important thing, right? The most important thing. Because that sells, right? They've got to keep your attention. They've got to have your fear up. They've got to have you engaged. They have to continue having you buying what they're selling, whether that's, something or some advice or whatever. So everything that comes out every day is the absolute most important thing that's happening in the world, and is the biggest threat in the world to you right now, right? No. Let's talk about what the biggest threat is to you. And let's stay away from the stuff about the biggest threat is evil and all that. Okay, that's a given for those of us who understand that. Now, let's don't play those games. Let's get serious. And let me tell you that the biggest threat to you is fear and confusion. Okay? When I taught, and I've talked about this, I think I did a video on this way back at one of my very first ones. And when I used to teach people combatives and self-defense and defensive tactics and all that, I would explain to them that in an attack situation or in an emergency of any kind, you basically have three enemies. Those three enemies are confusion, fear, and then the enemy itself, whether the enemy is an attacker or an emergency or whatever. Later on, years after I started teaching this stuff, that Air Force, was he a colonel, whatever, like, I forget his name, not taken away from him, I just don't remember his name, came up with the concept of the Ooda Loop, okay? Observe, orient, decide, act. It's the same thing. I've been teaching that long, and other people had too. It was just, he just conceptualized it. There's things you have to understand. That your biggest problem is not always the attacker or the emergency, okay? Your biggest problem, the one that you have control over, is your ability to recognize it, understand it, and deal with it, okay? Most people, when something happens, their first issue is confusion, and we can see that we're in this. There is so much going on, and I talk to people all the time. There's so much going on, I can't keep track of it. They'll get to the point to where either it just drives them crazy, or they stop thinking about it completely because they don't want to deal with it, okay? Well, you can't deal with anything effectively when you're going nuts about it. Nor can you deal with anything effectively when you've stuck your head in the ground because you don't want to hear it anymore, right? And after they finally get deep enough into that confusion, which will either make them stop thinking about it or go nuts, is the fear part. Oh my gosh, everything's scary, everything's going to kill me, everything's coming at me, I don't know what to do, I'm going to die, I'm afraid. Okay, you got to get past that. Your biggest ally in this, next to God himself, which should always be your first go-to, is your peace of mind and your calm. When was the last time that you were able to effectively deal with an emergency or an attack by going all nutso and not knowing what to do? How about never, right? Right. No matter, are you familiar with that first line of If by Rudyard Kipling? If you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs, well, that's where you want to be. You want to be keeping your head about you. You want to be the calm. You want to be the calm in the storm, the eye of the hurricane. Those winds can be blowing all around you. But if you stay centered and you stay in the eye of that hurricane, you're going to be good. The thing is that hurricane keeps moving, right? First you get hit by the front, and then it comes in, and you got to weather that first part. And then there's the eye. And then that second part, that back part of the hurricane is more powerful, right? Well, where do you want to stay? Well, you want to stay in the eye of the hurricane. Is that possible? You know, you create your own eye. You create the peace and the circle of peace and the circle of strength that comes from that peace of mind and that clarity of reasoning by moving with, paying attention to where things are blowing and what things are going and moving with that, understanding the movement of this. That is your biggest ally. That is your most important tactic. Staying cool. Stay cool. Understand that no matter what happens around you, or what happens in the world, you can't have an effect on it. Now, what is that prayer? The Serenity Prayer. God grant me and I don't remember it. It's not one that I particularly say. If you can't have an effect on it, why are you worried about it? Why are you letting it drive you crazy? I'm not saying don't pay attention to it. If you can't have an effect on it, I'm not saying ignore it, okay? I live in Kansas. We've dealt with tornadoes ever since I was a baby, okay? It doesn't mean that I don't pay attention to where they're coming. It means that I don't worry about it. I stay calm. I see where it is. Okay, I take the proper action. And the funny thing about that is that even though I've lived in Kansas all my life, and we don't get as many hurricanes as we used. Tornadoes. I'm sorry. Did I say hurricanes before? No. We live in what they call tornado alleys. In all my life, I've only seen one. Now, I've seen the damage of many. They've hit all over the place, right? But I've only seen one. And that's kind of indicative of what we're doing here. We hear about them all the time. When tornado season comes, I've started, I keep thinking about hurricanes because I started with that analogy. When tornado season comes, which we're getting into, all the weather channels are going to be talking about tornado all the time. And I'll tell you, when one hits, it is horrible. It is bad. The Joplin one hit. Out here in Kansas took out the entire town. It's horrible when they hit. There is not much like it in nature, like a tornado. But the thing is, the number of them compared to the damage that they create, compared to the fear that they drive, you see, it's out of balance. We're going to be hearing all about tornadoes now. Tornado all over here, and people are going to get all scared. Do you know what the chances of you being hit by one are? Not much. Now, granted, it hits 100% of the people it hits, right? But it doesn't hit most people. And most people who are paying attention and take the proper actions, it doesn't hit. What are those proper actions, and how can we apply those to the chaos that's going on in our world today? Well, you know what's going on, okay? You see if it's coming. What do you do when a tornado's headed your way? Well, you got one or two things. You can either go hide in your basement, or you can get in your car, and they say not to do that, and it kind of depends. I'm not telling you to get in your car and go out and drive around. But the thing is, if you've got tornadoes coming through your area, here's what I might do. There's going to be a tornado coming in my house. I might say, family, let's get in the car and go to our favorite pizza place 80 miles south of here. See? That's what you might do. Or you might just go down into your basement. Whatever's right for you. But the point is that you're being afraid is not going to help. You're being all whacked out because it's tornado season is not going to help. It's just going to cause you stress. And when you're under stress, you don't think right. Okay. That's what's going on in our world. I look at the list of the title list of a lot of videos, and man, I mean, it just makes you want to go, wow, why even get up in the morning? But you see, the thing is, it's like the news. If you think it's all bad, you're going to think it's all bad. If you think it's all going to hit you, then that's what you're waiting for. You can't always control what gets thrown at you. You can usually control how it affects you. Okay? You know the old saying, it's not, as 10% of life is what you make it, and 90% is how you take it. Well, I can't completely agree with that, but it's a good saying. I used to teach my students, you can't control if somebody throws a punch at you, but you can control whether it lands. Okay? You either step out of the way, you parry it, or you block it. Those are the three ways. And it's the same thing with this, with chaos. Basic preparedness prepares you for pretty much all things. My very first book, if you didn't read anything except this one, you would be completely prepared for just about anything that comes your way. But how many people really are? How many people really are basically prepared? And by the basics, I mean food, water, shelter, and protection. Okay, I don't necessarily mean communications. I don't mean ham. I don't mean all those. Nothing wrong with those. Okay, but just realize those are extras. Okay, the basics are going to get you through. And how many people are really tightened up on the basics? I know a lot of people have not tightened up on the basics because they started with the basics, but before they got those completed, they went off into some extraneous things that really aren't. They've got 20 guns, but they got more guns than they've got beans. Okay, because guns are cooler than beans. You don't want that. You want to be prepared in all facets of your life, and that includes your money. Okay, your ability to function in the society as it is today is crucial. If you can't, you're not prepared. So the chaos that is swirling around us, we have no idea what's going to happen tomorrow. You know why? Because the people who are deciding what's going to happen on a worldwide scale, they haven't told us, and they're not going to. They're just going to throw it out there. And we're going to have to keep watching for those lefts coming in, and also for a right. Because while you're watching, while they got your attention over there, look over there. We got to keep stepping out of the way, parrying, or blocking. That comes from staying involved mentally involved, emotionally stable, and spiritually sound. Does that make sense? Okay. Look, chaos is going to continue coming. It's going to get worse. It is going to get worse. Will it get better later on? I don't know. Heck, I hope so. But I'm not planning on that. I'm planning on it getting worse, and so should you, and I think you are. So the chaos is going to come, but how you handle it makes a difference on how it affects you. You have to, if you have to get serious. You have to become more serious. Now, I know there are some of you that are really serious, and you are down with it, and you have got it going, right? You are, no matter what happens, you're pretty much all right. Good for you. Most people aren't. And if you're not, don't feel bad about it. Don't get scared about it. Just be determined to do better, because you can always do better. And that's the important thing. So don't get all shook up. Don't get worried. Try to get off that dopamine train. Try to get off that needing to have horrible news every day to make you feel like, ooh, well, gosh, it's horrible, but maybe not for me. Or it's simply the excitement of being scared. Okay. The old roller coaster. Ooh, I'm so scared. This is fun. Well, this ain't. Yeah. Get off of that so you can think clearly and act clearly. Okay. Look. And again, thank you. Wow. For you people who have made this book just a roaring success, thank you so much. If you haven't got it yet, guys, get it. Again, it is down below, the links to it. Either get them through Amazon, or you can get autographed copies from me. Like I always said, I don't get them back to you as quickly as Amazon does. If you want them right now, you got to get them from Amazon. But if you want them autographed from me, there's a way to do it. The information is down below, and I get them to you as soon as I get my shipments in, and then sign them and get them out to you and all that. Remember that we prepare well today in order to live well tomorrow. So get out there. Don't be afraid. Just be prepared. And I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.